I witnessed it. I witnessed the wars that was going on Rikers Island between the Bronx and Queens cats. You know what I'm saying? I witnessed that, man. I witnessed how it just totally changed New York City. Totally changed. I was there. I seen it. I didn't know you then, but I knew what I know your story. I know what was going on at that era in that time. And the role that you played there is amazing to me that here you are today with this message, man, of, change, with this message of growth. What they don't know is that during a prior interview that I just had recently, I mentioned some inaccuracies about Tut. And I hate to put a jacket on someone that doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? I hate to do that. And you were able to point out to me those inaccuracies, right? And me being the kind of person that I am, I never want to vilify someone for something that's not true. You were able to point that out to me. And ever since then, I had this high level of respect for you because you did it in a very kind way, man, in a brotherly way. You did. And I felt it right away, man, because what I saw and what I felt in those words that you sent to me was that, brother, I love what you're saying, but this is not the way it happened. You know what I mean? This is not the way it happened. And I resonated with that. So thank you for that, because now I got a different perspective of how that situation in New York actually went down. My uncle Mutulu, God rest his soul, he just passed away a couple of days ago. And
rest in peace.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the life and times of Dr. Tupac Shakur.
Yo, Clay.
Care of our communities, man, so that we can dictate our own survival instead of being dependent on others for our survival. That hasn't changed, Brother Gibbs. It's the same thing, man. So people today are still going to resonate with the message of yesterday coming from Tupac and others who died for our cause, because nothing has changed.
And you know what, man? Like I say, listen to your words. And even as we do in this interview, I'm getting somewhat emotional because once again, like I say, hurt people hurt other people. Right. And even like I said right now, me and my wife sat down and watched like Dear Mama on Hulu like yesterday. And even watching that, man, it helped give me a better understanding who Tupac was and what he really stand for. Because a lot of times people like to pass judgment, not quite understanding, not taking the time. And to me, like I said right now, was I can see why some of the problem that he had was some of these individuals that I knew from the street life, like the Haitian Jack or the Jimmy Hinchman or anybody else that was in that street world. Because when you bring up in the environment that he was brought up, like with the leadership of your mother, and like right now with Mutulu Shakur and all the other great leaders, where as far as right now, they're looking at equality. They were looking at standing. If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. They were looking at for the people. Once again, he wasn't about people bullying, people taking advantage, people disrespecting, people extorting, people exploiting our people. And see, that's why these cats, when they ran into him, they didn't understand why he didn't bow down. They didn't understand who he really was and what he really represented. Because once again, this stuff was instilled in him since he was an infant. So once again, they didn't quite understand, like, who is this guy? Why right now we got guns in his face and we doing all this other stuff. But once again, he wasn't bowing down because he was already who he's supposed to be.
Yeah. And I love the way you bring up. First of all, I want to take this moment. My uncle Mutulu, God rest his soul, he just passed away a couple of days ago. And
rest in peace.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the life and times of Dr. Mutulu Shakur. Great man in his own right. Man, we're saddened by his loss. But Pac, what I like about what you said was that you drew the comparison of how people from our culture, our background, the street game, people from the street game, like the Haitian Jacks, the the Tuts, the Jimmy Henchmen, all these people who come from that life. That's the life that you are familiar with, right? And for you to just explain to me so eloquently how you just came to understand for yourself the significance of who Tupac really was, right? Or who he really is, what he really represents, says a lot to me of how different things would have been if those people that I just mentioned would have saw the same thing. If they would have saw the same thing that you've seen recently, it would have been a different story. And they probably would have collaborated with Pop. They probably would have joined forces with Pop to reach as many young people as we possibly could. I'm glad that you have this platform so that you can shine a light on that parallel, because that parallel is very important for people to understand. You know, the mindset of the gangster, the mindset of the street person when it's being introduced to a person like a Tupac. You know, it kind of reminds me of what happened with Nipsey Hussle, the mindset that he had and how his life was taken because of the mindset of a person who was living in the street life. And they just could not get over the idea that this man was trying to save his community instead of hurt his community. You know, so it's beautiful, Mr. Glaze, that you have this platform and you shining a light on that parallel right there in context, in the context that people can understand, so that we can see the difference of how things would have happened or turned out if we were able to recognize Pac's true quality, who he really was at that time.
And you know what? Before I go to the next question, I'm going to say this. All wise man seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. I'm going to say it again. All wise man seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Okay? Tupac was a multi-faceted artist and only known for his music, but also for his acting career. How do you think his talent and versatility contribute to his overall impact and legacy?
I think for the most part, when we saw Tupac act in films and when we heard his music, what we got was his true self, right? He was so authentic in his music, in his acting portrayals of the characters that he portrayed. He was so authentic, right? We all felt where he was coming from. When we saw Juice, we felt that character that he portrayed. When we saw Bullet, we felt that character. When we saw Gridlock, when he played the drug addict, we felt that character that he portrayed. I think that will be a part of his legacy as well. The sincerity in his portrayals of whatever that he was trying to convey, whether it's through his music or whether through his acting ability. He was trying to convey a message. But at the same time, he was very authentic in portraying that message, either through the stage or either through film or through his music. So I think that will be a lasting legacy that people are going to get when they think about Tupac. They think about the sincerity of this guy, the authenticity, the realness, he was genuine. And people can resonate with that. People don't like fakeism. You know, people are struggling. People want to see what's real. People want to see stories. They want to hear stories and hear narratives of what is real in this life. And that's the the fact that we all have, these things that we have to deal with in our lives, and we got to find a way to navigate through it. And Tupac seemed to be able to address those things for us, man, in a major way.
You know what? Like even right now, for a person being so young as he was, and not only that, like right now, is it make me to sit back and reflect. It's like he had the weight of a lot of situations, circumstances, and people on his shoulder. Whereas, like sometimes we are chosen to be the chosen one, and if you don't understand what is your purpose for being on earth, you can miss out on that opportunity. But it's like right now is I think he understood, because like I told you, from watching Dear Mama, and I'm seeing certain things, and like even the way he was able to articulate himself, it's like wow. And that's why I said right now is like never judge a book by its cover. And to me, I was a fan, but I became a bigger fan after that documentary because I got a better understanding of the man, the myth, the legend.
Man, that's dope that you said that. By the way, shout out to Alan Hughes. Alan Hughes is the director of Dear Mama, the docu-series. Shout out to all the talent that worked with him to put that project together because it was a huge success. And as I hear you explain to me how it touched you and how that docu-series gave you a different perspective of who Tupac was, Alan actually won. He achieved his goal because that was the goal. Not only to give people a different perspective of who Tupac really was, but also to shine light on who he came from, his mother, and how the economy of their relationship and the parallels that went along with that story as well, right? And I think Alan was very successful in portraying that. He did a masterful job in telling that story so that people like you and people who did not know who Tupac was really about can now see for themselves what the what all the noise was about him. They can get a different, fresh perspective of the life of Tupac Shakur and his family tree. So shout out to Alan, and I'm glad that you got a chance to watch it.